Hi, everybody. Thanks for being here for another fun edition of Deborah Kobylt Live. And with me in studio today, I have Jess Phoenix. You are running for the California 25th Congressional District. And I find you really interesting. Politics aside and my views aside, one of the reasons why I decided to have you on is because I read a little bit about you and what you stand for. I also am supporting women on both sides of the party, both parties, who are running for political office because I think we need more of them, and I'm supporting them, and I like what you stand for. So thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Deborah. This is great.
Yeah, so a little bit about you. You are a geologist. You are a nonprofit founder. You're an animal rescuer. You're an environmental scientist and educator. And the really, really cool part about you, your parents were former FBI agents. That's the coolest of all. Did they ever bring the cool stuff home and go, shh, Jess, you can't say anything, but you won't believe what happened today. Can you do something?
Yeah, there was a little bit of that, although they used to terrify my boyfriends. Whoever I tried to date.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, they'd walk in the door. My dad would walk in first, take off his gun, set it on the counter, and say, hey, nice to meet you. And then 10 minutes later, my mom would show up and do the exact same thing. And
5 minutes after that, the guy was out the door, right?
Pretty
It's
much.
like that was the end of that.
I was always brought home early. I'll just put it that way.
Or have them drop you off at the door, in which case that would have really pissed your parents off even more. It's like, right?
Well, they thought they were like, oh, your dad's so scary. And I said, yeah, but my mom's a better shot. And I'm being completely serious. And they're just like, you're joking.
Did they teach you how to shoot as a kid?
They didn't, actually. It was never something I was interested in, but I now do know how to. And it's not something I do often, but, I've gone to the firing range, an indoor one, and that's about it.
I did, too, because I once covered stories, various stories at the police academy. And they'd say, Deb, come in. We're going to teach you how to do this. I wasn't the best shot, but I'd like to learn just so I know if I'm ever presented myself in a situation where I need to shoot that I'm not afraid.
You don't pick it up the wrong way.
Yeah, and I'm not a gun enthusiast whatsoever, but I'd like to learn how to shoot. So
it's all those skills like archery is really neat too. I mean, I think any of those like fencing,
archery's great.
Archery, fencing.
I have a kid who's a fencer.
Stuff.
My middle kid, he's like super intellectual. So fencing was like a great sport for him. He was good too.
I did it in college a little bit.
Shout out to Jordan. So he was pretty good. So tell me, why did you decide to run for office? You're up against incumbent Republican Steve Knight, and the 25th district here in California traditionally can be a more conservative area. It's Simi Valley, Santa Clarita. For those of you who know that area, Acton, which is where Tippi Hedren has her preserve, the Shambhala Foundation. She's a good friend of ours. I love her. Also, obviously, an animal person.
Yes.
Why'd you do this?
Well, I saw a problem, and I'm a scientist, so I like to solve problems. It's what I do. So for me, it was realizing
practical.
Yes,
practical in politics. That should be your slogan. Practical in politics.
I know it'll scare people. No, but Steve Knight, my opponent, is actually a climate science denier, and he sits on the House Science Committee. And for me, that was a really big red flag, as well as everything we heard about all the cuts to research and then what they were doing to the education department. I mean, it all kind of added up, and I said, yeah, we can't do this.
I need to be clear. This should go on both sides, both parties. These are issues that affect everyone.
Yes.
Republican, Democrat, somewhere in the center. These are global issues.
Exactly.
And as you said, you're a scientist.
Right.
So politics aside, these are important issues that at least deserve to be looked at and examined before tossed.
Exactly.
Right?
And science isn't partisan on its own. And, when people ignore the facts, that's when we run into trouble. And when you ignore the facts for an agenda, you get into even more trouble.
So what would you run on? What's your platform? What would you're going to go up against Mr. Knight, who's, who's an incumbent. What are you going to say to draw your voters in to vote for you?
It's a great question. So one of my big priorities is meeting the challenges that we're going to see in the next 10, 20, 30 years. And one of the biggest ones is climate change. So we need to be dealing with that. It's real, it's happening, and we need people who are able to say, look, green tech jobs, how are we going to get those moving? Well, I want to help jumpstart green tech jobs right here at home. We could be the hub for that globally. So that's something that I would really be pushing for. And in addition to that, we have to be fully funding research and making sure we have funds for hurricanes, earthquakes, volcanoes, and tsunami monitoring and warning systems. I mean, as you see, what's happened in the last couple months, those are big problems, and we need to be on top of it. So making sure that we have that built into our national security component.
But what do you do when the president has taken away the funding for that?
Yeah, so
where's your cooperation?
Yeah, so as a member of Congress, you've got to make a case to your colleagues that this stuff is going to protect real people on an everyday basis.
Republicans and Democrats.
Yeah.
No party lines here at all. I wish we had no
don't pick on
parties.
people.
Oh, earthquakes don't. Tidal waves don't.
No, hurricanes, no.
Science, just science. No hysteria.
Yeah.
The science that's built into this.
Give me the facts, ma'am. Nothing but the facts.
So you would go to them. You're a personable person. You're a smart person. I could see that. So I could see you showing up in Washington and people taking a look and stopping and listening to you.
Well, good.
That's really important. I'm sure you spend time in Washington, have you?
Yes.
I have too. And too often they've got their own agendas with their little briefcases under their arms and they're not listening. So you would be someone who I think is really fresh and interesting. And all right, go ahead. So that's one agenda that you've got that is very important and close to your heart.
Yeah, and it's very important for me that we have a healthy country as we move forward. So getting into healthcare, we need to be right now in the short term getting people enrolled during this open enrollment period, which started today.
Are people listening? Do they know?
Enroll.
Instead of tweeting late at night about the latest infraction over hair color, maybe we ought to be tweeting about open enrollment, people. We actually made some headway, which he did. He actually made some headway.
He had progress.
He had progress from both sides coming together and sign up. You know, that's an important thing. Would you use social media a lot? Because people respond to it.
Yes.
This is not the horse and buggy days anymore, everybody. Social media is a big deal for the right reason.
Exactly. I mean, it's one way that we are all connected now. I've done research around the world. And when you see people in Mongolia powering their cell phones off of solar panels they take with them when they use their do their nomadic lifestyle, you're like, okay, everybody has a cell phone, and it's becoming more and more common throughout the world. So this means that people have access to more information now than ever.
Yeah,
we can use
so
that.
I really feel like we should be doing that more politically. They're so behind in Washington. You know, I mean, I was talking with a previous guest on my show before you about intelligence.
Oh, yeah.
And about how they're often so behind, and we should really use the intelligence of those folks like that are in Facebook and Google and all that, because our government can't seem to do it. It's almost like they're educated old school, and we've got to get fresh blood in who understands how to do this stuff.
Yeah, and career politicians, they've had their day. Now we need fresh blood. We need
who understands the importance of using social. I'm all over it. I mean, I'm not all over the stupid selfie. I always like to say to people, like, please, like, take a picture looking that way. You don't have to be in it. Anyway, so okay, the environment. Tell me, healthcare.
So with that, I think obviously getting people enrolled right now. Shoring up the Affordable Care Act right now, it's not perfect. We have to work on it, but we need bipartisan healthcare solutions, and we have to be working towards getting everybody in this country covered.
Trump has surprised me, and that when he gets irritated, he'll just go to the other side and give them a call and say, Nancy, come over. We got to talk.
Come over, yes.
Chuck, we got to talk, which I think is pretty cool. I mean, I'm like I said, party aside, I think it would be very refreshing if we had politicians who did that. And it seems like you'd be somebody who would just talk to anybody just to get the job done.
Well, I love talking to people. And my aforementioned FBI parents are Republicans. So I grew up working across the aisle. And these are not, people on the other side are not our enemies. And that goes for Republican, Democrat, whatever. They're your friends. They're your neighbors. They're your community members. They're your kids' teachers. Like, you've got to remember that.
We all breathe the same air.
Yes.
Go to the same schools. Okay, healthcare, environment. Next, what else is your platform?
So for me, education's a big thing because I used to teach at Cal State Los Angeles. I taught geology and oceanography. And now my nonprofit, Blueprint Earth, we actually take college and university students out to do hands-on science research in the desert outside of LA. And
I love this.
Yeah, and so then we also go into elementary school classrooms, and we bring scientists into the classroom so the kids can realize that.
I got to tell you,
it's great.
I feel like education, I have 3 boys, needs to be completely...
a lot of boys.
I know, it needs to be completely overhauled. I feel sometimes like we're back in the one-room schoolhouse.
Yeah.
Not everyone learns the same. I do think it's very valuable to have hands-on, no matter what it is that you're learning.
Yes.
History, English. Not everyone writes the same paper, yet you have to stay within the mold. Science. I mean, look what you're doing. I think that's valuable. So what would you do for education? Where are you going to find the money for education?
Well, right now, in fact, actually, a report just came out saying that we've spent $250 million on war every day for the last 16 years. So if you think about that amount of money, it's massive. So there are ways that we can actually fund education better and make sure that we have federal initiatives to help trickle down through the local education process.
How?
So one of the things I want to do is help to decouple the property taxes from the amount that schools get. Because a lot of times schools in neighborhoods that have lower property taxes, they get less funding as a result. So we have to make sure that we're giving students who live in lower income communities the same opportunities that students in wealthier communities have.
I have to tell you, that's a small problem for me. I pay a lot of money. I came from very little. My folks were not educated. I was educated. I live in a nice area. I pay a lot of money in property taxes.
I believe it.
Yet my local school is not so terrific, and I can't even use it. And it makes me really angry that because there's too many layers of bureaucracy.
Exactly.
The test scores are awful. So not only am I paying property taxes for education I can't use, I then have to pay a fortune in private schools. That is a lot of money for me.
Yeah.
So
it's not.
I always want to know, where is my money going when I pay my property tax?
You want it to go somewhere accountable.
To the student, accountable. You know, accountability to me is a big thing. Not just like, oh, I need my money to go to. Well, how much of my money is going there?
And is it going to be? Oh. Hey, it wasn't me.
Stop calling me between 1 and 2 on Wednesdays, please.
It's her show, at least, so it's okay.
I'll call you later. Okay, go ahead.
That's really funny. Maybe they really like or really hate what we're talking about.
Incredibly popular. Let's just call it. But okay, go ahead.
So I just think that what we really need to be doing is prioritizing the teachers having the resources they need to do the job that they're trying to do. Did the light just burn out?
Yeah, don't worry about it. Keep going. We actually only have a few minutes because we have a show right behind us that we weren't aware that we had. So.
Oh, wow, that's exciting.
We thought she was on tape, so she's not, and that's okay.
All right. Well then, so what? Complex question, short answer, right? So we really need to make sure that we are giving teachers the resources they need to do their jobs. For example, a 2011 study by UC Berkeley said that most teachers, the vast majority of public school teachers, felt completely unprepared to teach science. And that to me is terrifying because we have people in classrooms who are trying to do their very best. They don't have the support. So we have to prioritize it. We have to make sure it's something that's talked about at every city council meeting, make sure that there's federal monies that are being able to be allocated for public schools. And so kids like, I met a kid yesterday at Cal State LA, I was talking over there, giving some talks, and he said that he missed taking the PSAT because his school didn't even emphasize it. And he's from South Central here in LA. And we have problems in rural schools that are very similar to those in inner city schools. The quality of the education is not good because they're not getting the support they need. We have to have a culture that values education first.
Is there going to be any debating or anything like that coming up? Because you've got some time to get your name out there.
Exactly.
You're starting early. That's smart.
We've had 2 forums already, actually, 2 candidate forums. One was in Simi Valley and one was in Santa Clarita. And one was hosted by a new women's group called Win to Lead there in Santa Clarita. And the other one was hosted by the Simi Valley Democratic Club. So
what do you think? I am in support of more women running for office.
Me too.
We tend to be more practical, I think, and we can see some issues and we can... I feel like we are just very proactive. What would you say to women who would like to get involved in politics and have not?
Do it. However, there are resources. There's a really great group on Facebook that's nonpartisan. It's called the She Should Run Incubator. And if you're considering running for office or if you are running for office, you can check that out and get advice from other women. And it's not partisan. So it'll just say, here's how you find a campaign manager. Here's how you build a donor list. Like it's practical advice. And how to deal with people who are being jerks. Because as women in the public eye, we often get really creepy comments. So that's a big thing that comes up on there as a topic.
Would you do anything about what's going on currently with harassment?
Yes, I believe that we can solve a lot of those issues with, of course, supporting and encouraging people who do come out with those things, saying, look, we believe you, and here we're going to help you. So we need to be in keeping these Title IX protections in place at schools, because that encourages people to report when they're assaulted. In the workplace, we need to make sure that we are paying women equitably, and we are giving people equal pay for equal work. And HR departments have to be good. They can't just be there in name only, because you need women and men who have experienced sexual harassment to have a place to go. So this is something that, again, it's a cultural shift, but we have to acknowledge it first. That's step one.
Jess Phoenix, for those people who want to read more about you and talk to you, because I know that you're the kind of person you just pick up the phone.
Yes, I do like to talk.
And you want to talk to your constituents, running for California's 25th Congressional District. how can they get in touch with you?
So the easiest place to find me is, well, Twitter is one, and that's at Jess Phoenix 2018. And Facebook, it's Facebook/JessPHX, so the Phoenix airport code. Or you can just look up Jess
that's kind of
Phoenix.
smart.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Remember the airport. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. But you can just look up, Jess Phoenix for Congress. It's there too. And then I'm on
Okay.
Instagram as Jess Phoenix 2018 as well.
And if people have ideas, because I know
Yes.
you listen to everyone.
Yeah, yeah. And that's, I love to talk to people. I love to hear, because listening is the way that you actually learn.
Yeah, and that's a smart politician.
Yeah.
You're hardly
So,
a politician.
Yeah,
You're
for
just
ideas.
a smart woman, person running for office, trying to make something better in the 25th District of California. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so
I
much
really
for
appreciate
having
it.
me.
Thank you for being back on as the campaign director.
That sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks for being here, everybody. Look her up, Jess Phoenix. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.